Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be diving into some fascinating material you sent our way.
Nice, yeah.
It's all about the logistical and strategic side of community building in the Philippines. And
Interesting.
yeah, well, the Philippines, it's a nation of over 7,600 islands.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, and it's just this incredible sprawling mosaic, right? And just even picturing that landscape, I think, gives you a sense of some of the inherent difficulties in connecting with remote communities. And that's really what we're going to be exploring in this deep dive. What does it actually take to reach these far-flung areas? And what are some of the remarkably innovative solutions that are being employed?
I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, so we're going to be drawing from excerpts of a document that you sent over titled 004, the Fragmented Landscape.pdf.
Okay.
Sounds very descriptive.
It does, yeah. That image of a mosaic of islands that you just used, it's so apt because it immediately highlights that it's not just about sheer distance, but the complexity of navigating a truly fragmented environment.
Right.
And what's particularly interesting in the material you provided is how it unpacks that ingenuity required to overcome these geographical realities, these obstacles, and how they actually inspire solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the nuts and bolts here.
Huh?
The document paints a picture of what a typical journey might look like for somebody, maybe like a church planter, starting from an urban hub. So
Wow.
can you kind of walk us through what that initial outreach often looks like?
Sure, yeah. It's actually a journey of distinct phases,
Yeah.
each presenting its own set of hurdles. So the first step is usually a flight to a regional hub.
Correct.
And think of this as a kind of a transition, moving from that familiar infrastructure of urban life to a point where the more significant logistical complexities begin to emerge. So like acknowledging that initial separation that you have to overcome.
Right. So moving away from those established networks. So you land at the regional hub, and then what happens?
From there, the journey typically involves a motorcycle ride through rural roads.
Okay.
And what the document really brings to life is the nature of these roads.
I was going to say.
Often winding, often unpaved, and kicking up a lot of dust.
Yeah, you get a real sense of just the ruggedness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's a very tangible representation of both the physical and the infrastructural challenges. And it really tests the resilience of the travelers, both physically and in terms of their determination to reach their destination. You can almost picture them having to constantly navigate this uneven terrain.
Absolutely. So that's the motorcycle ride, and then finally you have to traverse the water.
Yes.
Which sounds particularly unpredictable.
Yes, the boat ride across often unpredictable seas.
Right.
This is where the sheer number of islands truly comes into play.
Makes sense.
And the document emphasizes the constant shifts in weather, the ever-present possibility of tropical storms. And so this leg of the journey necessitates a deep understanding of local maritime conditions and ability to anticipate changes and a significant degree of adaptability. It's a reminder of these forces of nature at play and also the reliance on that local expertise for safe passage.
Right. Just even mapping out that three-stage journey really underscores the commitment involved.
Absolutely.
And that naturally leads to the question of, okay, what are some of the broader logistical challenges in sustaining these connections, right? So beyond just getting there, what are some of the key hurdles that the document brings to light?
Well, the document really highlights the need for meticulous planning and transportation logistics.
Yeah, right.
It's not as simple as just point A to point B.
Right.
You have to understand local transport schedules, which can be infrequent and heavily influenced by weather. You know what's striking to me is the level of hyper-localization required. Understanding not just regional weather, but the microclimates affecting specific boat routes on a given day.
Wow.
It's less about global supply chains and more about incredibly granular, almost ancestral knowledge. And this being vital for effective resource distribution, whether that's getting building materials or essential supplies to remote communities.
That local knowledge sounds absolutely indispensable. And then I imagine, given just the distances involved, the fragmented geography communication must be a pretty colossal undertaking as well.
It's vital, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting paradox here is the simultaneous reliance on cutting-edge tech for macro coordination.
Right.
And deeply personal face-to-face interactions to build the trust necessary for any project to succeed.
That makes sense.
In areas with limited internet access, those personal visits are crucial for understanding nuances and building lasting relationships. So it's this really interesting blend of leveraging digital tools where available and prioritizing traditional community engagement methods.
You can't just rely on, digital communication in all contexts. And then the third key challenge, it seems, is adapting to the natural environment itself.
Exactly. The material that you shared points out that strategies must be inherently flexible
Right.
due to that unpredictable environment. Poor roads can become impassable with heavy rain.
Mm-hmm.
Sudden storms can completely disrupt sea travel. This necessitates a mindset of constant adaptation, mirroring the remarkable resilience, I think, often demonstrated by the island communities themselves.
Yeah.
In the face of such environmental variability.
It's like nature kind of dictates the rhythm, and then the outreach has to flow with that rhythm in a sense. But what I think is really interesting is how the document reframes these challenges not just as obstacles, but as potential opportunities. So let's kind of delve into that. How does something like a difficult journey become more than just a hardship?
It's about a perspective shift. The physical hardships, as the document notes, can be seen as mirroring that inner spiritual journey.
Okay.
The endurance required, the perseverance through challenging terrain, can actually reinforce a sense of faith and commitment.
Right.
This belief that significant obstacles can be overcome through dedication. So the struggle itself has a deeper significance.
Okay, so that's the journey itself. Now, what about those complex logistical puzzles, right?
Yeah.
How do those translate into opportunities?
Well, that intricate puzzle of moving between islands becomes a catalyst for creative problem solving.
Okay.
The document provides examples like developing local transport partnerships, perhaps collaborating with experienced fishermen who possess that intimate knowledge of the waterways,
Makes sense.
or utilizing technology to access more accurate and timely weather forecasts. Each of these innovative solutions isn't just a temporary fix. It's a step towards creating more sustainable and locally relevant approaches to community development. Necessity becomes the mother of invention.
Yeah, that ingenuity born out of necessity. It sounds like the journey itself, though, despite its difficulties, also serves a crucial purpose beyond just logistics.
Yeah, precisely. The document describes the journey as a profound immersion into the rich diversity of Filipino life.
Interesting.
By navigating through these different islands, engaging with various cultures and traditions firsthand, those involved in outreach gain a much deeper understanding of the people they aim to serve. This cultural immersion is vital for integrating their message or their support efforts in a way that truly resonates.
Right.
Rather than applying a uniform approach, it's fundamentally about building authentic connections.
That point about cultural sensitivity, I think, is so critical for effective engagement. Now, let's kind of zoom out and consider the sheer geographical fragmentation here, right? We're talking about thousands of islands. And the document frames this as both a significant obstacle and perhaps surprisingly as an opportunity. So let's unpack that obstacle side first.
Sure.
What are we really talking about here?
The most immediate hurdle, as we touched on, is the lack of continuous infrastructure.
Right.
The natural barriers, the vast stretches of water, the mountainous terrain, the dense foliage, coupled with a limited network of reliable roads and bridges.
It makes things difficult.
Oh, absolutely. Standard transportation and communication methods simply impractical in many areas.
Right.
And so this geographical isolation, as the document emphasizes, can really restrict access to essential services, things like healthcare, education, and even just basic necessities.
Yeah, it creates these isolated pockets, essentially,
Yeah.
which makes it very difficult for centralized systems to effectively reach them. And so this necessitates what the document refers to as unconventional journeys.
Yeah, exactly. The reliance on small boats, often referred to locally as bangkas, or outrigger canoes,
Okay.
motorcycles navigating challenging terrain, and even long treks on foot.
Wow.
It truly underscores the immense commitment and physical endurance required. These aren't quick trips. They often involve significant time, considerable effort, and a degree of personal risk.
Certainly puts our daily commutes into a different light. But as we've seen with the individual journey stages, right,
Yeah,
this widespread geographical fragmentation also presents some unexpected opportunities.
it does.
So what are those?
Well, what's remarkable is how these geographical challenges spark really innovative solutions. The document highlights the development of these incredibly creative and agile approaches. So think about the deployment of mobile communication units that can be transported to isolated areas, or the use of solar-powered devices to provide essential electricity and connectivity in regions where the power grid doesn't extend.
Oh, Wow.
Necessity truly drives invention, and it transforms that initial sense of isolation into a platform for these very localized outreach strategies.
So it's almost like the same factor that creates the separation also fuels this ingenuity to overcome it.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful dynamic at play, and it necessitates a different kind of outreach strategy, doesn't it?
It does. The document discusses this development of these agile networked outreach models, because a centralized top-down approach simply isn't viable across such a diverse landscape. There's this need to build flexible networks that can adapt to the unique characteristics of each island. Partnering with local navigators, individuals who possess an intimate understanding of the terrain, the waterways, becomes absolutely crucial
Makes sense.
for bridging that gap to resources and communities.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing and empowering local expertise.
Right. So it's a much more decentralized and collaborative approach, and that naturally leads to the concept of localized outreach.
Precisely. The inherent challenge of reaching such a multitude of diverse and scattered communities, it necessitates tailoring solutions, very specifically,
Makes
to the unique context of each one.
Right.
This goes beyond mere logistical adjustments. It requires a deep respect for and integration of the distinct cultural identities, the specific needs of each area. What proves effective in one island community might be entirely inappropriate in another.
Right. So it's a highly nuanced, community-centric approach. And I love how the document talks about transforming isolation into connection, which really captures the essence of this entire endeavor. So how does that ingenuity that we've talked about and that collaboration actually achieve that transformation?
It's through that powerful synergy of innovative solutions, like those technological tools that we discussed, and that deep-rooted collaboration with local experts.
Okay.
By thoroughly understanding the specific obstacles present in each location and working hand in hand with those who possess the most intimate knowledge of the terrain,
Right.
those seemingly insurmountable barriers are transformed into stepping stones for these meaningful and deeply localized outreach initiatives. It's about discovering contextually appropriate methods to bridge both the physical and the social distances.
And a cornerstone of making this work, I think, is that profound respect for those local contexts, right? And that wealth of knowledge that's held by the people on the ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The document underscores that successful outreach fundamentally begins with that deep respect. Collaborating closely with local leaders, those who possess this understanding of both the physical terrain and the intricate cultural landscape, is absolutely essential. They can provide invaluable guidance, ensure that all efforts are relevant, respectful, and ultimately far more effective. It's about empowering that local agency.
Right. So moving away from a purely external prescriptive approach.
Right.
Now, in our increasingly interconnected world, technology must play a significant role in overcoming these geographical challenges. How is modern technology being leveraged in this unique context?
Modern technology is proving to be a real game changer.
Yeah.
The material that you shared highlights that crucial role of satellite communications,
Okay.
often relying on VSAT terminals for connectivity in areas where terrestrial infrastructure is absent, which presents its own set of challenges in terms of cost and maintenance in those remote locations, as well as mobile connectivity and digital mapping. These tools facilitate that meticulous planning of efficient travel routes. They ensure the timely delivery of vital resources, and they maintain those crucial communication links between these remote communities and the central support structures. In regions where physical infrastructure is lacking, these digital networks act as lifelines, connecting the isolated to a broader network of support and information.
So strategically using the digital realm to bridge the limitations of the physical world. But it also sounds like no single entity can tackle such a complex and widespread challenge alone.
Yeah, that's right.
Collaboration has got to be key.
The inherently fragmented nature of the Philippines necessitates a strong spirit of collaboration.
Yeah.
The document emphasizes this critical need for government agencies, non-governmental organizations, local community groups, and faith-based organizations to come together and forge this holistic strategy.
It takes a village.
It really does.
Or in this case, many villages.
Many villages, many islands. By pooling their resources, sharing their diverse expertise, and carefully coordinating their efforts, they can maximize their collective impact and establish the enduring connections that are so vital.
Absolutely. And so the document, I love this, frames this entire endeavor as a journey of resilience and innovation.
Yeah.
So let's explore those two key aspects.
Okay.
First, resilience.
Yeah.
What does that look like in this particular context?
Resilience is deeply embedded in the fabric of this mission.
Right.
The document speaks of this enduring spirit. That physical perseverance through incredibly challenging terrains is a manifestation of a profound spiritual perseverance,
Wow.
an unwavering commitment. It's about that unyielding determination to overcome these seemingly insurmountable obstacles. And it also highlights the inherent cultural strength of the Philippines.
Yeah.
That vibrant and diverse cultural tapestry isn't a hindrance. It's a fundamental foundation upon which to build these new and transformative connections. The communities themselves often demonstrate this incredible resilience.
So it's a mutual resilience, you're saying?
Yes.
Both in those reaching out and within the communities themselves.
That's right.
And then the second key aspect is innovation. How does that serve as a catalyst for positive change in this landscape?
Well, that fragmented geography, as we've discussed, truly fuels these adaptive strategies. The document offers compelling examples again. The use of mobile communication units, reliance on solar-powered technologies, and those partnerships with those experienced local navigators.
Right.
Each challenge encountered sparks this process of creative problem-solving, transforming that initial sense of isolation into a unique opportunity for connection.
Yeah.
This leads to what the document terms networked outreach, building flexible and responsive systems that integrate these modern technological solutions with that invaluable grassroots wisdom to reach even the most remote areas. And just for our understanding, a Brane is the smallest administrative division in the Philippines, similar to a village or a district.
Okay.
It's about being agile and responsive to the needs of each individual community.
So it's this dynamic, iterative process of identifying the specific problem and then developing a solution that's perfectly tailored to the local context. And finally, the document speaks about the ultimate goal here, which is building a connected, compassionate society. So how do all of these remarkable efforts contribute to achieving that larger vision?
Well, the document describes it as a step-by-step transformation.
Okay.
Each obstacle that has overcome, every connection that is forged, represents a step towards creating a more interconnected society where formidable logistical challenges become milestones of success,
Love that.
rather than insurmountable barriers. And that resilience demonstrated by the outreach workers, coupled with that openness and strength of the local communities, collectively paves the way for this sustained and impactful work. Ultimately, it's about weaving those isolated communities into this vibrant and cohesive tapestry, a tapestry of faith, hope, and unity, where every single barangay contributes its unique story to this shared narrative of renewal and profound transformation.
Wow, it's a really powerful vision of interconnectedness, built through sheer perseverance and remarkable ingenuity. So to kind of summarize our deep dive today, we've explored the incredible resilience and innovation that are absolutely essential for connecting communities across the uniquely fragmented landscape of the Philippines. What might seem like insurmountable logistical challenges are being met with this extraordinary determination and incredibly creative solutions, truly transforming those obstacles into powerful opportunities for connection and growth.
Absolutely. It really underscores that fundamental strength of the human spirit, that deep-seated desire to connect, to offer support, to build strong communities, even when confronted with these geographical barriers.
And I think that begs the question for our listeners, considering the sheer determination and ingenuity we've explored in reaching these communities, what profound lessons might we draw about overcoming the fragmented landscapes in our own lives or societies? Whether those are physical, cultural, or even informational, it certainly provides some compelling food for thought. Thank you so much for sharing this fascinating material with us today and inviting this deep dive into the remarkable efforts within the Philippine archipelago.
It was my pleasure.
To our listeners, I'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.